I didn't expect the first cut of the night to come from her. Her voice sliced straight through the clinking glasses and low restaurant chatter, sharp enough to draw every pair of eyes toward me. "Don't ask him about his career," my wife's sister laughed, too loudly to be accidental. "It's too embarrassing." A cheap shot wrapped in a joke, a familiar pattern. Across the table, her new boyfriend, Daniel, didn't laugh. He just watched me with an unreadable calm, like he already knew how the night would end. I stayed still. Let the insult hang. My wife gave me that tight, warning smile she'd mastered, the one that said, "Don't ruin this, don't react." But Daniel leaned forward, elbows resting on the linen, studying me with that slow, deliberate scrutiny of a man calculating the right moment to strike. "So," he said, voice low but cutting through everything, "should I tell them who signed my paycheck this morning?" Silence fell so fast it left an echo. My wife's sister went pale. Not white, ashen. Like she suddenly recognized she'd stepped into a room where the lights were about to go out. And in that frozen second, the past unreeled in my mind like a film I'd watched too many times. I met my wife 8 years ago, back when I still believed loyalty came naturally to people. She was all soft laughter, soft eyes, soft promises. I thought softness meant safety. Her sister, Lena, was different. Sharp edges and competitive smiles, the kind who hugged you while checking the price of your watch. I ignored the tension back then. I chalked it up to personality. Family, I kept telling myself, has room for friction. For a while, I was right. In those early years, my wife held my hand like she meant it. She believed in the company I was building. At least I thought she did. But success has a strange way of making some people resentful, especially the ones who expected to have more and did less. The shift was subtle at first. Whispers behind closed doors. Her phone lighting up with messages she angled away from me. Lena visiting more often, bringing wine and stories and a strange electricity that made the air feel charged. Then came the night I walked into the kitchen and heard them arguing. "She won't leave him unless she knows she'll be taken care of," Lena hissed. "She deserves better. He'll never be enough." My wife didn't argue. She just stayed quiet. Silence, I've learned, is its own confession. 2 days later, I found the final piece. A message thread between them, screenshots forwarded to a man named D. A plan, a timeline, a strategy to separate me from my own company. My wife providing inside information. Lena setting up introductions. And the mysterious D promising them a clean exit. They wanted to use me, gut me, leave me. When I realized who D was, the same Daniel now sitting across from me, I almost laughed. Not because of the betrayal, but because of how small the game suddenly became. I didn't confront them. Emotion is fuel, not direction, and I had no intention of wasting it. Instead, I documented everything. Every message, every meeting request forwarded to Daniel, every file my wife accessed after midnight thinking I wouldn't notice. Then I made 2 moves. First, I transferred the company's core intellectual property into a private entity, legally shielding it from anyone without my signature. Second, I hired Daniel. He didn't know he'd been caught. He didn't know I had everything. He didn't even know that the opportunity I handed him was the leash I would eventually pull. But he took the job, because men like Daniel always take the job. They think they're the hunters. They never see the trap until they're already inside it. It unfolded quietly. HR documented his access logs. Each unauthorized entry into files my wife had told him to look for. Legal drafted the termination letter weeks ago. And the severance? 0, with cause. As for my wife and her sister, I waited. Not because I wanted them to suffer, but because panic is always more effective when it blooms slowly. We sat at dinner tonight because they invited me. They thought the plan was still alive. They thought Daniel had come to celebrate. They had no idea I already owned the ending. At the table, Daniel finally broke the suffocating silence. Should I tell them who signed my paycheck this morning? Lena blinked. What are you talking about? He looked directly at her, then at my wife. He's my boss, has been for weeks, and today he fired me. Her mouth fell open. My wife's fork slipped from her fingers. But why? She whispered. I answered for him. Because stealing from me isn't a job requirement. The color drained from both of them. The illusion snapped clean in half. I placed the folder on the table. Printed messages, timelines, bank transfers. Proof. Not anger, not shouting, just truth laid bare. My wife looked at Daniel, then at her sister, then back at me. Tears welled. You knew? I knew everything. I stood, buttoned my jacket, and let the weight of the room shift. I'm filing for divorce in the morning, I said quietly. You'll hear from my attorney. My wife's sister reached out, voice cracking. Wait, please. I stepped back. No. You wanted a downfall. You just chose the wrong man. Then I left them there, two women who thought they were playing chess when they'd never even understood the board. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply walks away while the guilty choke on the silence. And that silence, tonight, was the sweetest sound I've ever heard.